So you want to own arcade machines, but it's difficult, right? They're hard to find, they're really hard to work on, and they must be ungodly expensive. Not really. Well, this is Behind the Machine, my story behind every single one of these 20 arcade machines that I have in my collection. And today we're gonna talk about the best arcade sit-down racer of all time. Can you guess what it is? Let's check it out. This is a little behind the scenes tour of my own personal arcade that I've been building for like the last 30 some odd years. And this is my Rush 2049, the best arcade racer money can buy. Or as you're gonna find out, the best arcade racer that was actually pretty cheap. Now it's probably easiest to start with the question, why San Francisco Rush 2049? Well, this machine for me came out just at the right time in my life. Truth be told, I actually played it on console first, and it was on the Dreamcast. My friends and I just fell in love with this game on the Dreamcast. We would sit night after night honestly playing mostly the stunt tracks over and over and over again. It was so much fun. And that just so happened to be the fall that we spent like every weekend at the movie theater watching like random horror movies that we'd never even heard of. And at that movie theater, they had a San Francisco Rush 2049. And we must have spent hundreds of dollars and quarters on this machine. And while there isn't technically a stunt mode in the arcade version, the thing that was really cool about the arcade version was it was one of those first machines that allowed you to sort of like save your progress. Let me show you. You could type in your phone number or any other random number you wanted to make up and register yourself. And these machines had a built-in modem. They hooked up to the internet. So you could go to any Rush 2049, type in your phone number or made up phone number, and pull up all of your game save info, all of your track records. And the one thing that we all obsessed about was the secret coins. In every track, there were multiple secret coins. Those secret coins then allowed you to progress through all of the unlocks in this game. And there were tons of unlocks. There were special cars, there were special paint jobs, all kinds of really cool hidden things in this game. And up until this era, this was something that we hadn't really seen from arcade games before. And it gave you a reason to start coming back and playing the same machines. And because they were all hooked up to the internet, you didn't need to go back to the same place. It kept track of your race times and your lap times, how many miles you've driven, and how many coins you had collected for each track. Again, something for the time that was really, really cool. So I can type in my number, you can hear it dialing up the modem right now. Even though this isn't connected to the internet, select whatever track you want. I had already unlocked all the cars that I wanted. I always play in manual, and it kept track of everything for you. One of the really cool features about this arcade cabinet was the seats behind you had speakers. Not only were there speakers behind your head, but in the base of this seat was a subwoofer. Which made crashing really fun. And if you really wanted to sit down and spend some time with this machine in this game, there was a lot of really cool hidden things going on that on the surface you would have never known. Not to mention the force feedback in the wheel made racing on this cabinet a whole lot of fun. There have been nights where I've just sat down here and tried to continually beat my old track records. And the fun of that is it racks up your mileage and it tells you how many miles you've driven on each track. And actually, even though I've had this machine for like 20 years, I still haven't collected all the hidden coins. And to this day, it still remains one of my favorite racing games of all time. But the real question is, where did I get one? When I fell in love with this machine, unlike Mortal Kombat 2 or even Miss Pac-Man, I never actually expected to own one of these. If you know anything about arcade machines, a sit-down racer like this, not easy to come across and certainly not inexpensive. But back in the height of its day, I used to check Craigslist all the time, like every day. I had notifications set. Well, one day I had a notification for somebody that was selling some arcade machines. I emailed right away. They still had it. And even though this was over 20 years ago, I still remember every second about driving over there to get this machine. When I got to the gentleman's house, he had this thing running in his garage on display with two other machines. One of the other machines was also a machine that I was absolutely in love with that I never thought I would get. So of course, I had to make an offer. You know, what would you take for both machines? Even though I was only equipped to pay for one. So the gentleman threw out a number that I just couldn't refuse. So I still remember driving up to the AM/PM, hitting that ATM and pulling the rest of the money that I needed out of my savings account, even though I probably shouldn't have done that. And I drove home with both machines. What did I pay for this one? 300 bucks, which even for the time 20 years ago was a steal. Now, the monitor did need some work. You can see now the monitor is really nice and colorful and crisp. It needed some love, but this is still the original monitor. It's been completely rebuilt and recapped, and still to this day, it holds a really nice, beautiful, vibrant color. And I don't know if you can tell from the video, but it's pretty sharp as well. So for this thing, I really didn't do much to it other than clean it up and, like I said, fix the monitor. Everything else at the time completely worked. Since then, I have rebuilt the clutch pedal, I have rebuilt the stick, and I've had to rebuild some of the buttons in the keypad. Other than that, it came just like this. All of the beautiful side art, the seat still wonderfully intact, both rear speakers working, and of course, the subwoofer that's down here in this box under the seat still works as well. It is certainly one of my most prized gems that I have in my arcade collection. And of course, I do still pull out the Dreamcast version from time to time and play it just for nostalgic purposes. Oh, and if you're wondering what that other machine was that I bought alongside of Rush 2049, you should stick around for the next video, because that's the one that's coming up next. And if you missed the last video, which was the very first arcade machine I ever bought, you should check it out right here. And if you like this sort of stuff and you want to hear the stories behind all of these arcade machines in my collection, you should subscribe right here and hit that little bell icon. And until then, enjoy the journey.